Good morning from Glass River Media. This is Jeff Carpenter from Glass River Media Studios here at Venture X Arlington. And with me, as always, is Ronan in the corner.
Yep, here I am. Yeah, that's me.
Right where we left you.
Yeah, yep. I'm always here. Haven't moved myself yet recently.
Yeah. We're getting to the end of the week, and people always ask me, they say, do you let Ronan go home on the weekend? And I say, no, he just stays in the corner. He's waiting when I come back on Monday. I don't know. I assume you have fun all weekend just sitting here.
For the most part, I do. I don't know. I mean, yeah, today I did come here before you did, so.
Yeah, no, you sometimes you beat me in. No, what do I say? You always beat me in because Ronan's a very responsible individual. For everyone who's been watching this week, I hope you've been watching all week. We have been having guests all week long. We're up to, what is this, Friday now?
This is Friday.
Up to Friday, which means guest number 5. So we've been trolling the floor up here at Venture X, walking around, and we have found a variety of people who work up here with us, and to a T, every single one of them is interesting. So, Ronan, why don't you bring up our guest today?
That is.
Here we go, camera 2.
Yep.
This is John Frechette. I have that right?
That's right,
and,
John Frechette.
Sourced Economics is your business.
That's
and
right.
For everyone watching, I met John when he came in here to do a presentation of his own. You did not see it because it was not a public event, but you had a client of yours needed a presentation, or it's like a report or something. Tell me about kind of what were you doing for those guys?
Well, so it's actually our business model is based on a subscription fee. So on a regular basis, we're just putting out new research to them. And in this case, the reason we did a presentation here is we found that we weren't having a lot of effectiveness in getting out our work to a much broader audience. We were really speaking with, let's say, a group of individuals. But the point is, I think you need a different format. We knew we needed to get a little bit creative if we wanted to actually get out to, 100 people. So we used this as a live webinar. You might remember it was. Yep. And yes, like you said, it's a very large consumer products firm. Specifically, we work with their digital technology team, what they call DTS, Digital Technology Solutions. And so you saw, I think, maybe a 45-minute presentation,
right, yeah.
But there was probably, I would say, around 40 or 50 hours of research that went into that presentation. So yeah, anyways, it was a cool format. You probably saw it because you were controlling the screen. There were a lot of people on it. So it's a cool way to get out research, I think.
Yeah. So I guess internally, we kind of called this sort of a mini TED Talk. You got up here, you stood, and you had a bunch of slides. And I found it fascinating, even though I didn't really understand what their business is. Or I'm sure they got a lot more insight out of it than I did. But I found it kind of cool to see what was clearly a lot of work being distilled down into, a single report.
That's the nature of our business, I think, is that you're spending, you could tear through, let's say, I think I mentioned before this, that we do a lot of academic research. And so that means tearing through maybe 20, 30, or 40 academic papers. Now, maybe TMI, but you probably have 2 or 3 authors that write each of those papers. They probably spend 100 hours or 200 hours putting together those papers. And our job is to basically boil down thousands of hours of research into one slide or maybe 2 slides, which is, I think that's part of our niche, but it's also kind of frustrating sometimes. So it is really excellent when we can get a chance to, I think what was great about that live webinar was that, yes, we had our client team with us here, presenting with us, but even more important than that, just gave them an excuse to come to Arlington, Virginia, and come to the Venture X. And so, you can get kind of in-person meetings, get those going again. And we kind of made a whole week event. So it was good. Yeah.
Nice. What, I saw what you presented. Do you view yourself as, are you providing them a product, a service? Are you a consultant? Like what is your view of what you're giving them?
I would liken us, Sourced Economics, to a market research firm in terms of kind of our engagement model. I say that because you're probably aware that most consultancies operate on what's called time materials or fixed fees. So they do, they're focused on one specific problem. Yeah. They work for 3 months or 6 months on a problem, and then they're usually out the door. Market research, or in our case, economic research, is a little bit different. It never really ends. It just
keeps going.
Keeps going because, we're really fortunate. Just like the individual that was, with us presenting that you saw, the teams we work with are part of kind of global strategy and global finance teams. And what that means is their portfolio is extremely broad. They're doing more than one thing. In fact, they're working on maybe 10 or 20 different projects. So there's never a time when you feel like something is done or you feel like your work is done. So that is that's a kind of the model. Now, again, relative to what you typically think of as market research, I already mentioned we do a lot of academic research. And so, like I said, just the process of tearing through, and this is what I'm doing kind of all day out there, the process of tearing through 20, 30, 40 academic papers, figuring out which are credible, which empirical findings and statistics from each actually have value for the clients you're working with and the projects you're working on. It is, I'd like to think, somewhat of a niche. And so that is much more so our focus than it is a typical research firm. In addition to that, though, as I mentioned, do a lot of statistics, what we call econometrics, and we do a lot of just kind of mathematics as well. So
you're the guy in high school when it was time to do the book report. You finished the book report and you're like, can I do another book report?
That was not me in high school. And in high school, I was kind of the opposite. But maybe towards college, I got to be more like that guy.
Did you study, like, was this a field you had your eye on, or were you just like, how do you get into this? Did you plan this when you went to school, or did you study a lot of different things and then this has jumped out at you? What's a path to get to where you are?
So I think like a lot of people that start businesses, it was just kind of recognition of an opportunity based on some challenges I had working in my field. So previously I was in consulting, a couple different areas actually, in financial services consulting, technology consulting. I worked on a technology called blockchain for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved into, let's say, the field of strategy, which is what I would consider us working on now in terms of our domain strategy. And simultaneously, though, I was getting a degree in economics. And so I think it was really the case, Jeff, that it was, especially in the later part of my recent career around strategy consulting, I felt like there were just so many applications for the lessons that I was learning, getting my graduate degree in economics in the actual, let's call it, in the business world, in the corporate strategy and global strategy world. And so, frankly, I just kind of thought there was an opportunity, and that's why I mentioned to you that it started with a group of professors. It wasn't a bunch of analysts or startup people or salespeople. It was professors. And just kind of went to market, and we worked hard to try to find some client accounts, and we were fortunate to. And I would like to think the hypothesis I started with, we managed to validate now, which is really great. But we're still working on it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of field. It's not something that the 4-year-old says he wants to be. The fire truck, or the fireman, or the airplane pilot, or the economic researcher. That's one of those that, like, I kind of decided what I wanted to do in 7th grade, and so I'm always fascinated by jobs that I didn't know existed when I was young.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's amazing. I'm generally not just related to myself, but I just love people that have really narrow specialties and have just an incredible niche. And so of course, especially in consulting, I worked at a large consulting firm previously in Tyson's. And when we would bring in, let's say, external advisors or something like that, contractors, they would have so much unbelievable knowledge about the narrowest markets. So it was really cool. And you know what? I think you're right. I did not want to be an economic researcher when I was in 7th grade. In fact, I think I wanted to be but if you can believe, I wanted to be a construction worker. That was what I wanted to do.
That's a good one.
But the point is, I think the process of just developing a niche, that in itself is something I've developed a passion around, I think. So, it's interesting. And the last thing I'd say too is that there is no better way to build that niche and to really become an expert in a certain field. There's no better way to do it than to just start reaching out to people and start getting on calls. And at the beginning, and I'm sure you know this as well, at the beginning when you start a company, you're failing a lot. You've heard that many times. You have a sales pitch.
A little familiar.
You have a sales pitch, or you do a presentation, and it just doesn't go well, but you learn so much from it. That's what it's all about. It's just kind of continuously learning and pivoting. So
yeah, I mean, to your point about the niche product, I found early on that the most critical part of running a business is to whittle down what you aren't doing. And for most people, that's taking it from, 1,000 options down to 10. You're really getting down to 2. You want to be like really hyper focused, but even if you're not hyper focused, nobody wants to hire a plumber / caterer.
That's right.
It's like
Yep.
you got to get down to a certain subset. Even within the video world, we've kind of focused on, we do these kind of things and not these other things that we technically could do, but it's like you got to be an expert at something.
No, I'm sure it's very similar. I'm sure, and in fact, like you probably, and like Ronan, I have a lot of ambition with respect to the business, as do our team members, and so it's a difficult process to actually kind of narrow your focus. You want to take advantage of as many opportunities as are out there, but obviously, like you said, you've got to develop some type of specialization, at least until you can really scale up and get a large team.
Yeah. But when it's you got to be true to yourself,
and you got to be protective of your time.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me a little bit about, for everyone that doesn't know, VentureX here is a shared workspace that we are both a part of. We both got a kitchen out here. I see people in the hallways. What's your end of the world look like? You got a desk with do you have a window view? Because we're cut off from the weather
Out here on the floor?
Yeah.
I sit on the open floor.
So you can see if it's raining or not from where you are.
I can't see if it's raining because yesterday it was raining and I didn't know. I could see the coffee machine. I've got a straight shot to the coffee machine.
That's the important part.
And so, I know this isn't, the spirit of your question, but I do love VentureX. I mean, I just love this place for many different reasons. One of them, though, it's kind of almost an advertisement for VentureX now, but one of them, though, is that I think because it's a franchise model, I've worked in a lot of co-working spaces before. This is much more of a community. Mm-hmm. So we know, we all know Asada, for example. We know her very well. We know everyone who works here. And so, anyways, even on the open floor, you kind of know everybody. So it's like you're in an office. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very cool.
For both of us are small companies.
That's
and
right.
It's nice to get a taste of the advantages of a larger company, which is that there's people around and you're not just like squirreled away in a hole somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's fun. Speaking of fun, thank you for sharing all that about yourself, but Ronan usually jumps in here with a little bit of
all right.
frivolity. Do you have something to show us today, Ronan?
Well, I mean, I guess the first thing I can share is, well, actually myself. You guys said what you guys wanted to do when you were younger.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was younger, this is probably not, well, like what Jeff was saying, not a common goal of most young kids, but I wanted to be a hotel owner.
Like just manage you wanted to run the hotel.
Yes.
You wanted to be the what did this were you like an Ocean's 11 fan as a kid, or like
I was just gonna say Brad Pitt, Ocean's 13. I was just gonna say that. That's funny.
So I think what this boils down to is because I wanted to have a pool and I like interior designing and like designing rooms and things like that.
That covers a lot of those areas.
Yeah.
So I can see that. So yeah, no, you had never shared that with me. I'm surprised now we didn't lean on you heavier for like our sofa decision in here. But now I know.
But anyways, as for the other type of sharing,
what do you got? We're gonna look at the TV here.
Let's see this.
Yep, let's see the TV.
I'm excited.
All right. A driver's car soared 120 feet after vaulting off a tow truck's ramp in Georgia. That is one heck of a screenshot, Ronan.
So yeah, something we all want to do in the video games. And I think there's a video here. I did not watch it yet, but
yeah, let's take a look.
This is apparently the police cam footage.
Car soars through air in spectacular Georgia.
That driver must have been psyched when he realized a perfect video of this was taken.
That's
wow.
stunt worthy. I hope they are okay, but man, that would be. I mean, I like you said, I hope the driver treasures this video because as long as they're not too seriously hurt, that might be something that they seriously value. All right.
Yep.
Man.
So the real question was it distracted driving, or did he let the inner thoughts take over and say, I'm going to go for, because I have seen this on the freeway with the truck with the ramp. And of course I have thought be like, what would happen if I just drove up on that truck? Apparently nothing good.
I feel like we'd have to watch it again to analyze whether or not they tried to swerve at the last minute or anything like that.
Yeah. Run it again.
Yep.
The only reason you do that purposefully is if you're thinking, well, all these police officers have the camera, so we would be able to capture this. I could maybe get famous.
Question is, pretty sure I
Oh,
could
you can
just
slow it down. Yeah.
go like this.
Good old YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, it feels like to me. It feels like I'm looking at all the police
Yep.
officers and I'm drifting off the road,
I think you're right.
which happens all the time. He just had the misfortune of having a ramp.
Well, it's either that or I feel like it's the that he sees the ramp and he just wants to go for it.
I mean, that is a possibility.
You know, I might have seen a swerve, and I feel that's why the car might have, maybe he or she took off with the right wheels
okay.
kind of hanging off the ramp.
Definitely Evil Knievel worthy,
It is.
although not quite as planned out. There we go, super slow mo. I mean, this looks like quite a pile up
toe
to
right
begin
there,
with. We got a
but yeah.
bunch of cars on this side of the road. Now, here's what I'm going
I'm
to look
looking for
for.
the second people notice it. I'm
Right
waiting
here,
for the
right
heads
here?
to
Yeah,
turn.
I'm looking for the guy in front of the truck. I want to see
Here we go.
his
I'm
reaction.
seeing turning. I'm seeing
Yeah.
turning to the right.
Like he just
Oh, he just ducks down.
he's just like, okay,
Yeah.
was not expecting that. All right, well that is definitely a unique find, Ronan.
I feel like that police officer is surprisingly calm. The one they just showed.
I think this is one of those things where it takes you like 10 seconds to realize what happened.
Yep.
I've been in those situations where something incredible happens, and like 10 seconds later, you're like, wait.
You're in shock. Yeah, that's right. I think that's right.
I've cut myself before where I'm bleeding, and I don't know it until I see it.
That's
you know?
right.
You just
I would think we'd want to follow up and make sure that's not a real problem.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you for the desktop wallpaper, Ronan. We'll put that one up. Yeah, but the guy in the picture there standing under the car,
Yep.
he's gonna print that out and hang that in his office. Like, how can you not?
Like, well, he's gonna go home like for dinner that night and tell the family like, you can't believe what happened today.
Yeah,
He'll get famous off of it. We'll see him in a political position soon. I think
it's the start of a political dynasty.
anything to
All
make
from
his
there.
way in. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's exciting, Ronan. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining us, John. I am
Sure.
so glad to have had you here. Please stop by anytime. I'll tell everyone at Venture X, we have a little red light on the door, so if the red light's not open, just knock on the door and come on in.
Sounds great.
We are always here.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
and
Ronan.
As for everyone else, have a great weekend. We are going to be back next week with more guests, and we'll be here Monday.
Bye now.